Dean and 5 Lakes for this opportunity to participate in this. I think it's going to be a really good discussion. I looked at the attendee list and see that we have universities of various sizes and some investors and other players in the ecosystem involved. So the intent of this is to provide sort of a deep dive on 3 different examples of programs that exist outside of universities that can help pull things out of universities and help them get up running, find customers, find money, and so on. So the 3 groups we're going to hear from each have like a different mission, different purpose, different approach, but you'll start to see similarities in what they do, what they're looking for, and the kind of advice that they're giving. So we're going to start off with each of them just giving a really quick background on themselves and their organization, and then we'll come back and dive down in and ask a set of questions to draw out more information. And as Kathleen said, we're really looking forward to questions from the audience to make sure that you learn from this as much as you possibly can. So how about we start off with Ken to tell us about, actually he's involved with multiple organizations. So it'll be good to hear his different perspectives and roles that he plays.
Yeah, thank you, Reed. Yeah, Ken Miller from Naperville, Illinois, west suburb of Chicago. About 35 miles, 150,000 people, and it's known for technology. Started with Bell Labs. Hub 88 was co-founded in 2018 to help technology companies in the west suburbs. And we ended up at Nokia because of the 5G technology. We have created a communication lab, testing lab for technology companies. In April, we merged with 1871, which is one of the largest incubators, accelerators, with right now about 400 members. So we're doing the similar thing, and that's the reason for the merger. I'll answer the last part of what Reed mentioned. Is also I co-founded West Suburban Angels, which is an angel investment group. And we invest primarily in early stage up to Series A, Series B funding, and pretty open to different product lines and markets. Thank you very much.
Yes, we'll come back to Ken, but I hope you all picked up that he represents, in some sense, 3 different organizations. One is Hub 88, which is sort of a technology specific accelerator in some sense around 5G, not limited to that, but that's sort of their focus. And then 1871 was more general purpose. And then West Suburban Angels, which is an angel network. So 3 different hats he's wearing that we can probe later for more questions. So how about Matthew go next from Creative Destruction Labs?
Sure, thanks Reed, and thanks Kathleen for putting this event together. It really has been quite fantastic. So my name's Matthew. My background is a PhD in cardiovascular medicine from the University of Guelph up in Canada. And now I work with the Creative Destruction Lab, which is a nonprofit business mentorship program seeking to solve the problem of how do you get great research out of universities and put it into the marketplace. And the way that the Creative Destruction Lab has gone about trying to solve that problem is by connecting, essentially creating Silicon Valley outside of Silicon Valley. So creating concentrations of successful entrepreneurs and investors into a marketplace that is then easy to access for founders that perhaps they've spent 10 years building a technology, but they certainly haven't spent 10 years doing customer discovery. And the Creative Destruction Lab started in 2012. We've grown to have just over 10 sites. We'll be launching a 10th one this fall. With 16 different industry-specific streams, concentrating mentors into particular verticals, because naturally building a quantum computing company is going to be different than building a health company and different than building a space company. The problems, and advanced manufacturing as well, one of our streams. So trying to concentrate people that can provide actionable feedback that's over and above the generalized business-related mentorship that is often required just to get from 0 to 1.
Well, I'll just put in a plug for Matthew and Creative Destruction Lab. Like one of the things we struggle with here in the middle part of the country is like, how do you find those experienced entrepreneurs, CEO, high-level corporate people that can mentor your startups? And here's Creative Destruction Lab giving you access to world-class mentors that can help your companies no matter where you're located. So we've had multiple CMU companies go through that, and it's a really positive experience. A little closer to home here at CMU is Matt from Innovation Works / AlphaLab Gear. So he also, his organization has multiple roles in our community, so he can give a quick overview of those kind of things, then we'll come back.
Sure, thanks, Reed. So I'm Matt Virlinich. My background is engineering, science, and mechanics. I also successfully crowdfunded a product of my own design. So I started and ran an e-commerce company prior to joining Innovation Works. At Innovation Works, we are the Southwestern Pennsylvania Ben Franklin Technology Partner. So the majority of our investment comes from the state of Pennsylvania to have an economic impact in Southwestern Pennsylvania. We're a nonprofit group, and we invest. It started back in 1983, investing in seed stage technology companies to help them cross the chasm before they were eligible for larger rounds of financing or conventional financing. And it was about, I want to say 13 years ago, we launched one of the world's first accelerator programs, AlphaLab. And so that sort of enabled us to invest in earlier stage companies, putting them through curriculum of programming in order to help accelerate their growth and prepare them for a larger round of investment. Then about 5 years after that, we launched AlphaLab Gear, which was a physical product specific focused accelerator. And then last April, we launched our first medical technology focused accelerator program known as AlphaLab Health. We also have another umbrella or part of the company under Innovation Works called Riverfront Ventures, which is fully invested currently, but can participate in Series A rounds of venture financing.
So we'll come back to Matt, but as you can see, it's a very multifaceted economic development program driven by state funding and foundation funding. So we consider ourselves to be really lucky here in Pittsburgh and in Pennsylvania to have such a robust, long-lasting program to support our activities. And I know many of you in other states have similar programs, so maybe we can compare and contrast at some point. So all three of you with at least one of your hats have like cohort-based programs where you bring people in, you have a set group of people, you put them through your process and try to get them to something at the other end. So could each of you talk sort of like, what are you looking for people coming into the front end of that pipeline? What's the program look like when they're out? And what key milestones do you hope for them to achieve by the time they get through the program? You want to start, Ken?
Sure. At 1871, there's a 13-week program where the founder will go through and get different mentoring in each phase or step of that program. So the point is, and what is of interest to me about the universities is this is a potential platform that a founder who wants to get the product commercialized to get more of the business side, not the technical side, but the business side. So it would end up with one having a good handle on the market pricing, a pitch deck, that type of thing by the end of the 13 weeks. So these would be mostly early stage. There's a second program for growth companies. So they have their product, it's out there, they need to pivot or they need to more help in marketing their products, et cetera. So it's another second stage, if you will, and the final stage that 1871 can help with is on the corporate, where they have a business, it's going well, they just need some more specific, narrow help or connections to other individuals or other companies.
Do you provide funding as part of your program?
No, we don't. There are some programs, cohort programs, where there is a challenge, a contest, if you will, a pitch. But that's one that's, everybody has to apply and then get chosen to be in that particular pitch. So we work with partnering with other venture capital and corporate companies that have an interest in specific areas for the longer, beyond early stage funding.
How many companies are in a cohort, and are you industry agnostic?
Yes, and I'll say that to kind of to qualify it. With Hub 88, we're fairly narrow in technology, IoT, data, anything to do with 5G, et cetera. Where 1871 is wide open. They're looking for founders that want help. And it can be in retail, commercial, technology, et cetera.
And it's virtual now? They're
Yes, and virtual.
historically in person, but now virtual, is that right?
Yeah, we all learned about virtual, 1871 and Hubby 8 did. And with 1871, they are going to continue the virtual because they have members that are outside of the country going through this program. So that's pretty open and been very successful. So 1871 will get back to in-person and shared workspace in a couple months.
Matthew, do you want to do similar, describe your program, what you look for coming in, you have to
Sure.
how you do that?
So this is kind of a shout out to all the tech transfer offices that are in attendance. What the Creative Destruction Lab is looking for is pre-seed to seed stage tech-based companies that are founded by domain experts with very little business experience. That's our core customer. We do find success with people that have previous entrepreneurship experience, but are also looking for mentorship and network connections in particular verticals to help scale. We do need, our program is about working in sprints. So it's not, we call it a program, but we don't offer programming. We don't sit you down in a seat and tell you how to build a business. We put you in a marketplace where you can access a high volume of people that have successfully done it before to vet your decisions by them. And the program itself is 5 days, spread out over 9 months. And those 5 days are, you think of them as like speed dating for mentorship, where you get to meet we get to meet a high volume of high quality people, with the goal of each day being 3 business objectives to focus on over the next 8-week sprint. And then that sprint can take place anywhere in the world. Wherever you're building your business, that's where you need to be. And then the idea is after the 8-week sprint, coming back to the next mentorship session to get the next set of business objectives to go off and accomplish. Some of the common challenges that our mentors work with our companies on, because we're a tech-based, specifically a deep tech accelerator, or we would call ourselves a program, but in a lot of ways we are an accelerator. The companies coming into CDL are usually early in identifying what business model is best around the technology they've developed. A classical CDL company has this really cool technology, but isn't yet sure of product market fit, who the first customer is, where the beachhead market is, where the most value capture might be, or even if they have a good idea of it, they haven't firmly established that that's where they're going to scale. And in the CDL program, working with the company to figure out their IP license, to pull the IP out of the university, to start to put together a pitch deck that's investable. So by the end of the program, you now have a bit of a business case. You've talked to a few pilot customers. You may have pilot opportunities through some of our corporate partners. And now you're looking to either raise your series or your seed or series A round. And then the benefit of the mentorship program being 60% investors or people with investing capacity is the program itself is a bit of due diligence. So by working with the mentors over the period of 7 to 9 months throughout the program, they get a sense of what type of person you are, what type of founder you intend to be, what business you want to build, and then the investment is a little bit more organic. And then the companies coming out are really ready to start scaling into that first vertical.
Thank you, Matthew. So Matt, similar question specific to AlphaLab gear. And I'm going to ask you to also like talk some about how you work with companies that are hardware companies as they get to manufacturing. Like how do you connect them with the supply chain and move on through those steps as well?
Yeah. So AlphaLab gear, I would say the way that we evaluate an applicant for AlphaLab gear, because we do provide investment to companies that get accepted into the accelerator program, we are looking for deep tech, high growth potential companies. And so the better applicants are going to be teams that have a commitment to actually pursuing this as a business. So they're going to generally pursue it full time, or at least have one team member who will. That they have a good balance of skills and or desire to actually be coachable, as Matthew was alluding to, and what his mentors get out of the program. Also, that there is we believe that the product or the technology has a significant market opportunity, so that they can scale to a high degree in order to sort of be able to receive a return on that investment. Now, whenever the program used to be a cohort-based model where we had about 6 companies in a cohort, and it lasted about 20 weeks, culminating with a showcase event, actually 2 sort of showcase events, one private where they were introduced to a room full of corporate and institutional potential partners, and then a public event with where each company would do a pitch deck, a elevator pitch to essentially an investor. So those would be the deliverables that come out of the cohort. Is, I'd say, chief among them, a prototype and or a pilot. That's the goal, that every company would leave with a prototype or a pilot that they're ready to get in front of a customer, as well as a clear understanding of who their first customer would be and who some of those objectives and targets are, as well as a pitch ready to present to an investor for follow-on or additional capital to continue to scale the business. So in the process, I, in particular, my role within AlphaLab Gear and Innovation Works is to coach companies on the more technical side and working with manufacturers. And the number one piece of advice that I always give in working with companies is that you should treat a manufacturer as you would treat an investor, because they are also a business that makes money off of your success. So you need to sell them on the potential of your idea and why you're going to be a reliable and capable partner with them. So almost like you'd almost want to be able to have all of the same information that you have as a result of the cohort to approach a manufacturer by saying, this is the opportunity, this is our growth trajectory, here's our customer, here's the value of our technology, here's how we would de-risk it. And so these are the things that I try to coach the companies that we work with before actually providing them with a warm introduction. However, I'm always willing to give more generic advice on how to seek out manufacturers and find and vet the sort of right supplier in general.